Representing Lions Fight BJJ and Akhmat Fight Club, we have Said Nurmagomedov making his return to the UFC to take on renowned wrestling stud Cody Stamann, a guy who has built his entire game on the fact that he can take you down, hold you down, and hold you down some more. So for Cody Stamann, he has his work cut out for him because a guy like Said Nurmagomedov, you look at it even in his last fight, he's taken on Philippines' own Mark Striegel, a guy who has a Sambo background, who can take guys down, control them, submit them. That was Striegel's whole game. And oh, by the way, he's a pretty good striker too, but very compact at 135. He goes in for a takedown attempt against Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov says, I'm going to throw a hook out there, knock him down, and then just as he holds onto his leg in that takedown, just brutalizes him. So a giant win for Nurmagomedov. But the oddest thing for me when I did this whole kind of deep dive on Said Nurmagomedov, I went, hey, he's been in the UFC for a long time. He's actually been in the UFC for almost 4 years. He's 29 right now. He's only had 4 fights. It's been giant periods of inactivity. He didn't fight at all last year. His UFC wins over Justin Scoggins, Ricardo Ramos, that ages like a fine wine in a battle of prospects at the time. A loss to Raoni Barcelos, where it was just Barcelos' work rate, his takedowns, and everything all together that was able to get him the win there. And then Striegel to Cody Stamann, who's been there, done that, and on the periphery and in right now, the top 15 for a very long time.
This is such a fun fight in the bantamweight division because this division is arguably the most exciting in the UFC right now. I would say it's 135, 45, and 55. Those three are normally kind of at the peak for where your talent is. But Cody Stamann is, we know what Cody Stamann's going to do. He's going to wrestle, be it single legs or double legs. But the good thing about Stamann is that he does have a wide variety of takedown attempts. He's not somebody who only has a single leg takedown and a couple variations and that's it, and they sink or swim based on that one technique. He has a very wide variety of wrestling techniques in his back pocket that he can go to. But my problem with Stamann is that in this division, there's been a lot of kind of wrestle boxers in just throughout the history of the division. Some guys like Jimmy Rivera, who might side a little bit more towards the boxing end, and then some guys like Ricky Simone, who might side a little bit more towards the wrestling end, until lately he's been adding a lot more of the striking end. Cody Stamann's never really added the striking element to his game, and I've always wondered as to when he will make that jump.
Well, and that's weird too, because again, if you look on Topology or just Cody Stamann when he was early in the UFC, Michigan top team, Michigan wrestling, so on and so forth. Jim Harbaugh, is that adjacent? But no, when you look at it, he was always the Michigan guy. And then he goes to Extreme Couture. He's been there for a long time. And yeah, to me, the one fight where I thought that he had added a little bit more into his boxing, maybe you want to say the Marab fight, but even before that, the fight against Brian Kelleher, it was okay. His boxing is starting to get a little bit more crisp. He's starting to throw more combinations. It's not just one shot overhand and then I'm just ducking my levels and looking for the takedown. It was a little bit more, but against a guy like Nurmagomedov, I doubt you see that.
I agree 100%. He has made some improvements, but my issue with Stamann is that when you look at his striking compared to the other guys in the top 15 of this division, Song Yadong barely cracks the top 15 of this division, and I think we all know what he's capable of doing on the feet. Sean O'Malley is another guy who, he's barely in the top 15 if he is at all right now, and his striking is at such a level to where every second on the feet with him, you're at a chance of getting knocked out. With Stamann, there's no threat behind what he's throwing at you on the feet. He has some of the volume, but really everything he's doing is to set up his wrestling, and in this fight against Nurmagomedov, I think Stamann can get takedowns, but I wonder how his ability to secure the takedown is going to look, because if he can't ever get Nurmagomedov flat on his back, then Said's just going to be able to scramble and scramble and scramble, because with Nurmagomedov, he doesn't really fight like Khabib. He's sort of the midway point between Zabit and Khabib. He can wrestle a little bit, but he still throws a lot of spinning kicks. He found the Goldilocks zone between the two, but he does have those great scrambles, and it's so hard to hold him down. Raoni Barcelos did have success with his grappling, but it was also the pace that he was able to put on Nurmagomedov along with the grappling. It's going to be very interesting to see if Cody Stamann went back and watched the Barcelos fight and thinks, okay, I can replicate some of that game plan, or if Stamann's going to think, I'm just going to wrestle, because oddly enough, I think if Stamann is too dedicated to his own wrestling, he might find himself at the disadvantage in the cardio side, because I think think if Nurmagomedov can give up a couple takedowns just to scramble and end up on top, he's going to be wasting a lot less energy throughout this fight. But again, that's going to require him to somehow scramble and get on top of Cody Stamann, whose whole MMA game is built around getting guys down to the mat and just holding them there.
We'll see how Nurmagomedov makes out as well, because the fight against Striegel was over on Fight Island in 2020. He was inactive last year.
Striegel was out of his element.
Yeah, he was, 100%. But if you do look at it, he was booked in a fight against Jack Shore last year, had to withdraw. They say due to visa issues, the Akhmat Fight Club thing is the reason why I go, ugh. But in 2022, last week, he had a picture on Instagram. He was at Lions Fight BJJ with Zaruk Adashev, which is in New York. So if he's in the States, shouldn't really be that big of an issue. That's just the one caveat that I had to throw out there. The other thing, too, about Nurmagomedov, and I'm going to talk about historic odds in the UFC, and then this, and we'll make the pick. He was a minus 140 favorite against Scoggins. He was a plus 140 underdog against Hamos. He was a minus 125 favorite against Barcelos. He was a minus 410 favorite against Striegel. In this fight, Nurmagomedov opened a minus 245. He's a minus 261 right now on Sunday night. For Stamann, open a plus 210. He's a plus 166. I would say over-under on Tapology for the fan vote, 75% Nurmagomedov. You saying over-under?
I think Stamann's going to be the favorite.
Not a chance. 934 total votes, 82% with Nurmagomedov, 78% have him to win by decision. For the 18% that have Stamann, 88% by decision. So, Matt, the odds favor Nurmagomedov. The fans overwhelmingly have Nurmagomedov. I expect our fans in the comments section to have Nurmagomedov. What are you saying here?
I have no idea, if I'm being completely honest, because here's the thing. Cody Stamann's strength isn't a weakness of Nurmagomedov, but it's something that he does give up in his fights. I've seen Nurmagomedov get taken down. It's not like he is a Khabib or an Islam Makhachev to where it's like, oh wow, I've never seen this happen. Like, we've seen the defensive grappling, again, not be a weak point for him, but he has been susceptible to getting taken down in the past. And against a guy like Cody Stamann, it all depends on what happens after that initial takedown, because if Stamann can just stay on top of him, it's going to be the worst fight you've ever seen, and you're probably going to want your money back in the pay-per-view, because that's the type of game he has. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He's not somebody like a Khabib Nurmagomedov who goes from full guard into mount, beats you into the ground, and tries to submit you. He's more than happy to just waste minutes, waste rounds on top, and that's fine. Like, he is a top 15 ranked fighter in one of the hardest divisions in the UFC, so it's been working for him so far. But if Nurmagomedov can scramble and really use his speed to his advantage, because I think that is his big advantage in this fight, it is the speed, be it on the feet or even with his grappling. So it's going to come down to, do you like the control of Stamann, or do you just like the variety from Nurmagomedov? Right now, I am going to side with the variety of Nurmagomedov, but I'm going to say this. When they face off, if Cody Stamann looks way bigger than Nurmagomedov, and if I do start to feel like Stamann can hold Nurmagomedov down throughout the fight, then I might change my pick, but right now, I'll pick Nurmagomedov.
It is a really tricky one, too. I mean, Cody Stamann, one of the more active guys in not just the bantamweight division, but in all of MMA, with his takedowns, with the variety as well, because another guy on this card, Genaro Valdez, making his UFC debut, he's a guy that strikes wildly, gets into the clinch, and all he has for a takedown that I've seen is a high single leg where he just picks guys up, uses all of his momentum, and then he's able to get it. So Stamann's not one of those guys at all. He picks his shots when he does need to throw, but to me, Nurmagomedov's one of those guys that's tailor-made. I think this fight is going to be a little bit similar to the fight that Song Yadong had against Cody Stamann. Now, that one ended up a draw, but in this one, I think Nurmagomedov is going to be able to get it done enough on the feet to get the win, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's an over-under out there, 1.5 rounds. I might go with that one out of anything, but for me, I'm going to go with Nurmagomedov and not one of the more confident picks on the card. We're in agreement with Nurmagomedov here. You let us know down below in the comments section who you have between the Russian Nurmagomedov, the American hero out of Michigan, Cody Stamann. We got a big-time main card headed at you with 2 title fights up at the top that you're not going to want to miss. Just keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.